Hey everybody, I'm just making a little video here of something a little different than I normally make. Sorry, I'm driving again. I'm in my stepdaughter's car, so I decided to make this video because some stuff's been on my mind about various videos I've been watching. Like, I don't know if you guys that view some of the stuff I put up, if you guys watch people like, I think they're Americans, I believe they probably are Americans, but they're Matt Walsh. There's Charlie Kirk, there's Ben Shapiro, Dr. Jordan Peterson is Canadian, I believe. I'm not sure if he still lives in Canada or if he does or not, I'm not sure. I know that he's not too happy with the Canadian system. I can't say I blame him, but you know, his views and stuff like that, and all those gentlemen I just mentioned, their views, you know, I probably 96% agree with damn near every word those guys say. But the message that those guys, you know, they pump out, because they're very conservatives. They're very conservative thinkers. I think I'm probably the same way. Although I've lightened up on my views of various things. You know, as far as like they're pumping out propaganda, like they're against propaganda. Not that they pump out propaganda, but they're against propaganda that's being pumped into our minds. You know, I have to agree with the fact that they say, you know, there are only two genders, man and woman. I know that the social construct of that can be a gray area to a lot of people, but the bottom line is, for the last, well, basically through human history, there was no confusion, you know, and I understand why they say that. And I also understand why they say, like, recently I just watched a video with Matt Walsh talking about a gentleman, a younger couple at a, I think it was a football game or something, and his wife had an opposing jersey on from the opposing team. So, like, she was at this event with her husband, or fiance, boyfriend, whatever, and she had the colors on that were against the home team. I don't know a lot about football, but I'm assuming that she was voting for the, or at least cheering on the team that was not the hometown team. And a gentleman behind her, a middle-aged guy, you know, he kind of got a little irate because people seem to get a little, take the, you know, games personal, make it almost like their identity, which I never really got, but okay. So this gentleman decided to call her a stupid C word. I mean, you can kind of fill in the blanks there. I'm not going to say the word because it's vulgar. And her husband, boyfriend, fiance, whatever this gentleman was, I'll just refer to him as the husband because I'm assuming that's what he was, decided to, you know, ask the man. I don't know exactly what he asked him, but he said, you know, don't call my wife that or whatever. And then the older gentleman decided to get a little more irate, a little more aggressive. So the younger guy backed down. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Instead of, you know, he dropped the cool bombs on the guy for calling his wife that. Instead of standing up to the guy, you know. I know me, child born in the 80s, grew up, you know, I was a child in the 80s, but predominantly the 90s is my time of growth as a teenager and stuff. That if I'm standing at an event of any type and somebody doesn't like what I'm cheering for or had to say, or my wife, and decided to call Katie the C word, I probably initially would ask him to refrain from talking to her like that, and maybe ask him for an apology. If he, you know, doubled down and decided to get even worse, well, we'd be in a fist fight, me and that guy. It would have to be a guy. If it was a woman, I'd tell Katie, you know, we all have certain roles here. You're gonna have to defend yourself. I'd verbalize my disagreement with that person. But if it was a man, him and I'd be in a fist fight if he didn't back down. If he continued to, you know, throw profanities at her like that and sling different slogans, you know, different slogans in the fact that, you know, you can't call a woman the C word or any person that. But in this case, it was the woman. But to back down, to you know, let the guy get away with it. Not how I was raised. You know, I would have to, I would like to hope that I wouldn't physically assault the guy, but I would definitely get in his face, let him know I'm willing to throw down with you, man, if you want to disrespect my wife like that, and hope to God that he would maybe back off and say, okay, maybe see the error of his ways and say, I'm sorry about that. You're just a little too intense into this game. You know, maybe I shouldn't have called you that, and I'm sorry. And then maybe buy the guy a drink and sit down and watch the game together. That's all you need to do. That's how I would de-escalate something. But if you continue to do it, you know, as a man, I would throw down, you know, and I wouldn't be afraid of throwing down. Going to jail, going to the hospital, providing I took a beating or hurt myself in the fight. I'd be willing to do that for the honor of my wife or my kids, for that matter. From friends and family too, I guess, when you come right down to it. A lot of my friends and family can defend themselves, but point being is you don't let somebody speak to your wife like that, or your husband if you're a woman, and vice versa. But the approach, I would say, is try to de-escalate it. Don't feel bad if you're afraid. Don't feel bad if you if you feel like, man, this guy's going to kill me if I stand up to him. He's going to beat my head in. And that probably was the case with this particular video Matt Walsh was commenting on. But being afraid sometimes is a good thing. If you ever watch the Rocky movies, fear is one of your best friends because it motivates you in that aspect. I'm not saying to go around being afraid all the time just so you can have motivation, but in that aspect, it's a great motivator. The point to what I'm saying here is, the approach that Matt was saying, he was almost belittling the guy. Maybe not, but that's what I took away from it. Matt, you watch certain videos and you take certain things away from them that probably wasn't the message that was intended, but you see it in your conservative mind's eye, like I do. And you got to remember, these young kids coming up today, they weren't raised like you and I. They weren't raised to defend honor. They're more of take a video and post it on social media and let the lynch mobs out there take care of it for me. Now this gentleman's probably going to lose his job, probably going to have a hard time at work if he doesn't lose his job, probably going to lose some friends, maybe even family members for his actions, because this young guy decided to post it on Facebook, because that seems the way to defend your significant other's honor in this day and age. I see why Matt was saying what he was saying. I just don't totally agree with everything he said. You don't want to belittle people. Yes, you demasculate yourself when you take a video of something like that and post it on YouTube or whatever platform you're on, and you're now out there forever. And yeah, you look like a chump, man. I hate to say it, but you did. And maybe you should think about posting things online before you post them online. So I guess I'm coming to the defense of Matt Walsh in the fact that I agree with what he said. I just don't think that your approach is the best, man. You can't look down on people. You can't shake your head in total disbelief, because we haven't been raised in that generation of today. I have kids that are at that age. Luckily, I had a parent that raised me a certain way, and I'd like to believe that I rubbed off on my kids the way that my father rubbed off on me. My dad was old school. If my father was alive today, he'd be 93 years old. So he had me when he was almost 50, and he was born in 1932, so he was old school, which I thank God for those values, as opposed to the values that I would have had today if I was raised up through the 2000s. It'd be a much different world for me, I think, and not in a good way. The world's delusional. I've watched some videos recently of the fall of the enemy, kind of tie this all back into, Christianity and the devil and stuff like that. The devil wants our attention, he really does. So he refused to worship the image of God that we were created in. And because of that, he said, when Michael was saying, bow down and worship the image of God, it was just obedience. He was trying to check to see who's going to be obedient, I guess, is how I took from that. And the enemy said, no, I'm not going to bow down to somebody who's younger than me, somebody that I've been created before. Why should I bow down to human beings? It doesn't make sense. But it wasn't the actual fact that we're human beings. It was the image of God. It was obeying God that he went against. And he questioned that. Then he said, I'm going to actually raise my stars above the Most High. I'm going to be like the Most High, because that's the arrogance and pride that this being decided to have. So he was cast out. So excuse me, because of that, he hates us with a passion. I mean, his hatred for us is like the blood that flows through our veins. Each pump of our heart, it circulates that blood. So each pump of his heart, if he has one, I don't know, metaphorically speaking, I guess, the hatred just grows and sustains him. Without that hatred, what would the devil be? Well, maybe he'd be the angel he once was, or maybe he'd be completely annihilated. I don't know. But that's what motivates him. And that's what motivates a lot of our generation, because this is the example that we're led by. This is the example that the enemy wants. Total corruption, total disobedience, total delusion. And if we allow that, we have a society like we have today. or men think they're women and women think they're men, you know, and mutilating our children at a certain age because, you know, it's life-saving healthcare, or, you know, aborting millions of babies a year, you know, calling it pro-choice, my body, my choice. You know, no, it doesn't make sense to me. You know, I don't agree with any of that because it goes against the will of God. God doesn't make mistakes. So if you decide to go have sex with somebody, even if you're protected, you know, trying to not get pregnant, you're still taking a chance of getting pregnant. You know, when I had my first son, I wasn't expecting to have a child at that age. I was just 20, you know, still in school. My life was going in the direction that I wanted it to go in. Then all of a sudden, kablam, my ex-girlfriend that we weren't even together anymore tells me I'm pregnant. And I was just like, okay, so am I the father? And she's like, well, yeah, I'm not going with anybody else. I was like, okay. And to my utter shame, I said maybe we should get an abortion because I was 20 and I was stupid, you know. And she said, well, I don't know if I can do that. And I was like, yeah, well, maybe, you know, I don't know if I'm ready to be a dad, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought about it for a couple hours, and I said, well, I'm going to come pick you up, and we're going to go have a chat. And she's like, okay. So I picked her up, and I said to her, actually, to this day, it still amazes me, because in my young, stupid mind, I didn't know what I was really thinking, but I guess the Holy Spirit of God saw something different. And I said to her, no, we're not going to have an abortion. We're just going to have the kid. We're going to have to get back together, and we're going to raise the child, you know? And that child is now 23, going to be 24. Best friend I ever had in my life. And I also had another child named Lachlan. He's 21. Same deal with him. I wasn't expecting to have a child, but no thought of abortion whatsoever. I gotta say, I didn't, you know, Locke, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, man, but I couldn't take to him. I didn't want to be a father again. I did not want to be with that woman that I was with. Didn't love her. Just felt like I had to do it. And, you know, it was hard. I couldn't take to the boy. I wasn't ready to be a father to him, and I was pissed off that I didn't have a daughter. I had another son. So I thought, you're coming at me hard here, God. You're giving me another child I don't want with a woman I don't want, and you're giving me another son as opposed to my daughter that I wanted. Might have been different if I had my daughter. But, you know, that only happened for, I don't know, that initial, you know, anger and frustration lasted for a couple weeks, I'd say. And then started hanging around with the guy a little more, started playing with him a little more. And honestly, it changed for me one day when I was holding him and he head-bunted me in the face, you know, as babies do, smashed my lip with his big ugly head. He smashed my lip. He's not ugly, he's a beautiful baby. But anyways, he smashed my lip with his head, and initial anger hit me. But then I looked at him and he was crying, and I thought, ugh, right at that moment, that's the only way I can explain it. Ugh, at that moment, okay, I love this kid, and I loved him ever since. Can never go back now, which I never would want to, but I'm just saying, that's how it worked out for me. So to the person out there who's thinking about abortion, you take that story I just gave you and use that, because you might be missing out on an opportunity to have best friends in your life that are going to mold and shape you into the human being that you can be, that God has created you to be, like He created me to be. And those children you have, they're a part of that. You know, they're not sent to you by accident. They're not. It's not your choice. Yeah, it's your body, but it's not your choice to end that life. You know, I know people. I won't get into any names here, but I know people that have had abortions that have never been the same. Have children now, but they're now trying to rectify, subconsciously I'd say, why they've done it by overbearing on the new child, or the child that they haven't had the abortion with, giving them 5 times as much as they deserve, giving them more love than they need, giving them just too much, you know, and that can sometimes be more destructive than not giving them enough, I guess, is how I see it. So it's painful. It's a hard process on both aspects, on both sides of that coin. So, you know, I hope that you guys take my meaning from this, and I hope that you don't think I was trying to bash or badmouth Matt Walsh. I used him as an example because he's the most recent video I've watched. I respect what the man says. You know, he's not a stupid man. He's younger than I am, so I feel the need to say a few things that maybe a young man like him could listen to. And maybe take a look at yourself in the mirror, man, before you start casting stones at other people. I know you have a logical mind. I know that you have an ability, which I think is a gift from God Himself, to critically think. You know, I admire you for that you can critically think the way you think. and see the bullshit for what it is, because that's what it is. I'm sorry for my language. I know I'm a Christian man here and I shouldn't be cursing like that, but that's basically that's the only words I can come up with to describe the way that the world is. It's bullshit in that side of the world, and it all stems from the enemy. So maybe you should pump that a little more, Matt, as opposed to telling people how wrong they are and, you know, making them feel like they're dumb, because you're probably doing that to a lot of people. And you know, maybe unintentionally. I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think you're intentionally out there trying to hurt people, but you are hurting people because you're not meeting them where they're at, and where they're at is not where you're at. So you know, people are raised a certain way to think a certain thing, and then they have a guy like you with you know, the massive amount of intelligence that you seem to have, and the you know, the ability to convey your message is something that I wish that I could do. But you know, the people are not ready for that. You know, like I said, I used to teach a judo class, and I was trained in judo and stuff for years, and jiu-jitsu and stuff. I have a black belt in judo. So for me to take a white belt and put him out there against another black belt, or her, that wouldn't be fair. They wouldn't be equipped. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the understanding of the sport. They would get hurt. Probably, you know, an irreversible type of hurt. So that's the same thing. You have the black belt, man. These guys are the white belts. You know, work with them, help them, teach them. And I know you're probably trying to do that, but your approach could be a little subtler. You know, your subjectivity and your objectivity is wonderful. You know, I'm bragging you up here, man, because I admire you. I'm a bit of a fan. But I also have to criticize some of the stuff that you and Charlie Kirk do. Ben Shapiro, I was a fan of his, but I think I'm starting to go the other way with that guy. He's just a little too Jewish for me. And I don't mean Jewish in a bad way. I just mean that when you start, you know, denying the divinity of Jesus Christ, I have a problem with that. You know, when you say Jesus Christ was just a rebellious Jewish person back in the day, and he was crucified for his efforts, you really should look at yourself in the mirror, man, and understand that you made that's almost blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, which is an unforgivable sin. You know, so you might want to think about that before you start opening your mouth. You're an intelligent guy too. I have to respect that, but I don't agree with what you said. You know, that's just my opinion. Take it as you will. But I could go on more and more about this, but I won't. I got to pick up a young guy to head to work here. So any comments or concerns or any feedback, if this video ever reached Matt Walsh, I'd love to do a talk with you, man. I could probably learn a lot from you, and you might learn something from me too. You never know. So God bless everybody, and I hope that this video wasn't too much gibberish and you can make sense of it. Okay, God bless.